Start. We're missing one commissioner, but hopefully he's on his way. We could go ahead and start. I'll call the meeting to order as advisory at this point until hopefully Steve comes. Oh, maybe he's on the line.
Okay, thank you. No, nobody online at this time. He's not going to be able to make it.
Not coming? Okay, sorry. So he's not coming. We can certainly do this from an advisory standpoint. First thing on the agenda would be the minutes of the previous meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting?
You can't do it, you don't have quorum.
Okay, next.
You can
Public
basically,
comment. Just looks like we have some public tonight. Anyone like to discuss something with us here this evening? Please, if you could come to the podium and make sure that the mic is on so that we can record it, because we're recording you.
and also once you're done, please come up here and put your first and last name down, please.
Yes.
Is the mic on? Yes. You can hear me? Okay. My name is Andrea Spahn, and I'm a recreational fisherman. We moved to Crescent City about 6 years ago, and we chose Crescent City because we felt they had the best harbor along the Northern California-Oregon coast. We've enjoyed the fishing diversity this harbor offers, and now that is being threatened by poor decisions of the bureaucrats of Fish and Wildlife. The nearshore ground fishery in the northern management is now closed by Fish and Wildlife in a week by enforcing Title 14. Title 14, Section 2720, which is when federal limits are exceeded or projected to be exceeded, Fish and Wildlife has the authority to make in-season changes, including adjustments to bag and sub-bag limits, seasons, and depths. This is all related to the quillback rockfish. The recreational fishery was allowed one limit of quillback. So now, all of a sudden, out of the blue, the quillback quota has been exceeded, so they shut down the whole nearshore fishery. Why not just shut down the quillback, like they did with the yellow eyes? Why not keep better track of the quillback quota and just shut them down? Also, how do they know the quillback population is declining? Every time we rockfish, which we catch several quillback, which, by the way, we don't keep, as I feel they are not a good fish to eat or clean. I would also like to know, where does it say Fish and Wildlife has the ability to shut down over quota without no public comment or notices? One more little part. We are here to ask for your help to get Fish and Wildlife to rescind this closure. That's why you're seeing all of us right now. I don't know what you can do, and I don't know what we can do. But I did talk to our local warden today, and he is very upset over this also. He said we need to let our voices be heard. We need to get a hold of this Carolyn McKnight with Fish and Wildlife, who is the lead for Fish and Wildlife's rockfish policy decision and on the council. Also, Marcy Yerimoko, who is the council lead. I did leave a voicemail for Carolyn McKnight, and we'll follow up with an email tomorrow. I also contacted Cindy Vosberg with the Crescent City Chamber of Commerce. She had no idea this closure was happening. This is greatly going to affect the economy of Crescent City. From the charter boats, motels, restaurants, the fishermen that spent thousands on the boats and tackle, the tourists who come to fish bring a lot of money into this town, and Fish and Wildlife just shut them down.
We're certainly willing to listen to anyone who has a problem with this. Our only avenue here is to advise the Board of Supervisors potentially. We certainly can write a letter, but to advise the Board of Supervisors, and I would assume that there's 5 of them, and they may be getting an earful also, one would hope.
Hi, my name's Steve. I run one of the charter boats out of Crescent City. We set up our business to run May 1st to the end of December. This year it went from May 15th to October 15th. One quillback was on the yard. if they were in any danger whatsoever, they should have made it 0. It's not going to hurt with the population that we got going. There's plenty of rocks, there's plenty of blues, canaries, vermilions, lingcod. You know, there's so many people that use this port because it's easy access, it's friendly, you have fish cleaning stations on here, and people come here to enjoy the cool weather. And by taking that away, you've devastated the rest of this community. The campgrounds are already seeing the people pull out. They're leaving on the 21st. You know, the restaurants are going to pay the same price. The tackle store, in with it too. But for me personally, it's 60 days and no fishing. That's half my income. So we've got people that, you know, they live just to go do this fishing, and we've taken it away. Fish and Game putting that message out at 5 o'clock on Friday is chicken. That is crap. That's the way they get away with putting this stuff out without anybody having a chance to rebuttal against it. And then to turn around and say, we're going to 0, and now we're going to be closed on the 21st. If I tell you your paycheck's not coming next week, what are you going to say? Yeah, you know, they get their paychecks. Mismanagement is the #1 reason because of this. They should have just made it 0. And what they're going to say is, oh, everybody has to have the same opportunity to catch the fish. That's Fish and Game's #1 motto. I've been playing this game a long time, from the Klamath to the Trinity to the ocean, watching these rivers just go downhill and downhill and downhill. It's time to start managing it, you know. And personally, you know, everyone's got the same right to go fish for every single fish here, and now what you've done is you've eliminated everybody from having a chance, and that's sad.
Can I get your name, please?
Yeah, Steve Huber.
Harry Adams, Crescent City Harbor Commissioner, and I'm an owner of a charter business. I can repeat whatever they said. It's mismanagement. We've not been able to catch the yellow eye for years. That's what they should have done with the quailback. I don't keep them. They're the most versatile fish in the sea. They go back. You don't have to descend them. They won't even open their mouth. So they're pretty hardy at surviving, but it's going to devastate. I mean, just the money that I get, I've already canceled 27 reservations. The amount of money they spend on me is a very small amount from what they spend in this community. Thousands and thousands, hotels. I mean, today's clients were from Utah. Yesterday was Texas. The day before that was Pennsylvania. These aren't local people I'm catering to. They're out-of-town people. They're here to see the redwoods and to spend money. And the economic destruction. Don't let any quailback come in. We don't bring in the yellow eye. Come on, guys. You got to stand. We got to do something. This is bullshit. Thank you.
Brad Miller, Crescent City Fishing Charters, another charter business here. Thank you guys for being here, listening to us. Just like what everybody else said, you know, we should have not, if they were so worried about the quillbacks, we should have not ever been able to keep a quillback. On my boat, we don't keep them. There's tons of other better fish that we keep. Just the mismanagement of it was, it's getting pretty extreme. I do commercial fishing, I do the charter fishing, and it's basically almost driving me out of business. I did the math on it, and I'm losing approximately $40,000. And then the fact that they try to say that our fishery is still open because you can fish outside of 300 feet of water. However, I counted the days last month where you could fish outside of 300 feet of water safely in a vessel, like in my size vessel, 3 days out of the whole month to be able to fish in that depth range. Let alone the fact that there's 0 rock piles out there And from my understanding is that the data that was collected for the quillbacks was done under a trawl fishery. The trawl fishery is not going to come inside of that 50 fathom mark to do and drag their nets over the rocks and ruin all their equipment. So I am trying to understand really where the data is coming from. I myself would be more than happy to take observers on my boat. I mean, I could probably take them to a place where they will catch 20 quillbacks in a couple hours. And so to shut this down on science that they don't really have it's very frustrating, and it hurts the community, it hurts my family, it hurts all my fellow fishermen. So, all right, thank you.
I'm Bo Harkins, and I'm a recreational fisherman. I probably fish more than the guides do out here. I retired, and that's all I do is fish. I went out yesterday, and to tell you how the quillbacks are, I caught 23 of them yesterday. There's not really a decline here, but where they go out in the cattle bit, what they call the cattle boats, down in the bigger cities, they go out and they have 30 people on the boats. Well, 10 fish. And so I'm like they said, they should have come at the first, right off the bat, we're having problems with it, 0 quillbacks. They're going to have the same problem with the coppers. Everybody else calls them chuckleheads. But they're going to have the same problem with that. And so, like Andrea said, this town depends on fishing. That's all about all we have. So any help from you guys would be really appreciated. And like Helen was telling me, we need to see data. George Bradshaw printed a little bit of data, but it takes a scientist to understand it. I know I didn't understand it. So if we can get data, and what I really don't understand is if they just go with 0, why are they shutting down the rest of the whole operation? They've already dinged us a half a month, and they were going to ding us for 3 months at the end. So that's just what we need to find out, and hopefully they will maybe rectify or change something. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Ron Lee. I own a RV mobile home park in Klamath. And it was pretty tough when the salmon season got shut down because all my reservations got shut down, and now this is shutting me down. And this is actually not just the park, it's what I love to do too. You know, I go fishing and we don't go out to 50 fathoms, we go to like 6 fathoms where basically I catch no quailback. So I don't see why we wouldn't open it up from 0 to 15, you know, just shut it out to where nobody can go unless you have a 150-foot boat. Makes no sense. I did get a call back from one of the ladies. I didn't get her name. It was a 916 area code, and what she mentioned was what they went off of was their area. We don't really have someone up here doing the counts and representing us. So their data they got was the data in Central California. So we need to get someone up here to represent us with the fishing game. Yeah, I'm just saying that all their data, they said, was from where they live, down south, and we don't have anybody up here doing the counts and checking the quail back. So their information isn't even from us, our local area, that they gathered. That's what the girl told me from the 916 area code. So if you want to call her, she's the one. It's one of the two gals, because I called them both that are on here, and I just was pissed off, so I didn't get her name, but.
They did get some type of a count from the fish count.
I'm Ronley.
You're paying them to count.
Yeah, I'm Sherman Jackson, and what everybody said, yes, same kind of thing. There's a lot of quillback out there, and after speaking with the people down in Sacramento today, I realized this was their knee-jerk reaction to not taking care of business at the beginning of the season. You know, I don't expect it to happen. And if anybody expects the Fish and Game to respond to it, forget it. I'm part of the Delaware Waterfowlers, and they just shit on us all the time. And don't expect, they can shut anything down anytime they want. That's good luck.
Good evening. My name's Jeff Reed. I'm normally here to talk about duck hunting in Lake Earl. It's very refreshing to see a lot of local folks here that, like we do, is understand how the Fish and Wildlife Department mismanaged and ruins what we have here locally. And to that point, the State Fish and Game Commission is meeting in Fortuna next week on Tuesday and Wednesday. And I would encourage all of you to drive down there if possible, call in if possible, or Zoom in if possible, and voice your concerns directly to them, because they are the folks that do listen to the public. They have the ear of the Fish and Game Department president, the director, sorry, been a long day, and it's highly likely the director will actually be at that meeting. My personal experience is that talking to him personally is a waste of time, but that was one person talking to him. If 5 people voice their opinion, as you have done tonight to those folks, they would get their attention, because you're all absolutely correct. What goes on south of Ukiah is what the state manages.
Did you say Tuesday, next Tuesday?
Tuesday and Wednesday in Fortuna. Yeah, and there's a public comment each day before the meeting starts. I doubt that this issue's on their agenda, since it just kind of came out, what, last week, or, you know, but they take public comment, they have to. And you can call in, it's pretty simple.
What's his name? Do you remember his name? The guy that you talked to? Chuck Bonham is the director. That's the director.
Yeah. So anyhow, I'll skip all the Lake Earl duck hunting issues, but again, it's encouraging to see so many members of the public here. You know, we need to all voice our concerns. Thank you.
As Jeff said, the waterfowlers have been arguing, fighting, working, trying to get a cooperative situation to try to alleviate some of their issues. And it's really hard, because they basically try to pay no attention whatsoever to what the public says. And so there is strength in numbers. There is strength in numbers. As Jeff said, one person, one comment is one comment, but 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or 100 comments can carry some weight. And it makes no sense based upon what little I know about it, because I'm not basically an ocean fisherman, but just listening to the folks tonight, they don't have the data for this part of the world. They're including everybody in the same bucket. And they're continuing to take more and more and more and more of what goes on in Delaware County and lumping it in with what goes on down in Sonoma or San Francisco or whatever. And we're taking the brunt of what we should not be taking.
Are you Fish and Game Advisory Commission here? Is that who we're talking to?
Yes.
What authority do you have, or do you have influence with the Fish and Game?
We have basically, our basic job is to take information, discuss it, and then have discussion with the Board of Supervisors so that the Board of Supervisors can write the letter. We may very well be able to also write a letter. I'm not saying that we can't, but the Board of Supervisors has more power than we do.
Sunday night is when this thing takes effect. It closes everything on Sunday night except that'll be on 33.
This coming Sunday is when it closes. Right now it's open, but this coming Sunday it's closed. Okay.
Can I say a few things? Is it too late?
It's never too late, sir.
All right. My name's Chuck Melendez, and I've been fishing up here since the mid-'80s and fished a lot out of Trinidad. I used to coach football at Humboldt State. But I found that Crescent City was better fishing, and I recently retired, and I've been up here a lot. And in the past, I've been up here a lot fishing. And what's, I think, extremely frustrating is not knowing information, not knowing, who's making the decisions, what the hierarchy is of the whole Fish and Game, the data, what are you basing this on, what's the science behind it. I think we need transparency. I mean, obviously, everything you hear today, we need to hear why these decisions are being made, who's behind it, as much information as we possibly can get. And like I said, I come up here and fish, and I kind of based my retirement on coming up here, and I love it up here. I also, I grew up in Santa Barbara. I fish the islands out there. You go out to Santa Rosa Island, and all you're going to do is catch chuckleheads. And I don't see a shortage of them there. And, I fish out of Avila a great deal. And, I don't want to screw those areas, but they're a lot more depleted than this area here. And that's why I come up here, because it's the best fishery in California. And I release a lot of fish. I catch those big old 30-year-old reds or whatever, I send them right back down, or, I send back a lot of fish. I don't need to keep a lot. I just enjoy fishing. I fish shallow so I don't catch or kill fish. And anyway, just the thing that kills me is just the lack of information that we have, the fishermen, and what we can provide for the decision makers. We're the fishermen. We can provide, a great deal of information as far as regulating this area. And man, I know we're all flustered as hell, and I sure am. And man, I'm looking to go to Mexico now. Anyway, thank you.
Sir?
Chuck Melendez. Sure.
Me again. We're here to see what you guys can do to help us. That's the main reason why, time is of the essence right now. This is closing, and people are going to be losing money, and we'd like to know what you guys could do to try and help us immediately, as soon as possible, please. And to make it better understood, Fish and Wildlife only closed the northern management area. They didn't close any of the rest, and that entails from Eureka on down to, I think, Cape Mendocino on down, yeah. Northern management, us up here. Yeah, Yeah, and so please, could you write letters, start making calls? We're doing it too. We're all going to do our part, but can you please try to help us? That's why we're here. Thank you.
I just got one thing to say. The least thing we can do is write a letter, you know, and then advise, like Rob said, the Board of Supervisors on writing a letter. But I strongly suggest, you know, you all go to that commission meeting, because that's where it's set. The Department of Fish and Wildlife just follows through with it and regulates it. These guys are the ones that can overturn it, the commission themselves. So that's where you guys need to speak, and we will write a letter on behalf of your guys' concerns, and then push the supervisors to do the two.
There's a lot of quail back down in the southern district. Fish closing the southern district. What would happen?
How many people have called their state representatives? Okay, I'm going to be on the phone tomorrow doing that. Everybody needs to do it.
The harbor's drafting a letter.
Letter. They need to have individuals talking to them, you guys. Most of them don't give a crap for us though, up here. You know, these are not northern people, but that's our reps and we have to work with them. I think it's Huffman and Wood, isn't it? Or is it? No.
Huffman's federal.
Federal, right. Wood and what? McGuire. Wood and McGuire. Those are the two you need to get. I know calls were going into Eureka's Fish and Game today because I couldn't get in.
Remember, if you're going to call McGuire or the other one, Wood, they have a Eureka office. They have a Sacramento office. And again, strength in numbers. If they get one phone call, it's one phone call. If they get 100 phone calls, if they get 100 phone calls in Eureka, and they get 100 phone calls to their Sacramento offices, both of those folks, and strength in numbers appearing at the commission meeting, I mean, it's possible. I got to tell you, it's doubtful, but it's possible. Because you can't treat everyone in California equally poorly. And that's what they attempt to do. And we're different here, aren't we? This is a totally different place. It was brought up today that, you know, out of 30 days in the month of 31 days in the month of July, there's 3 days you could go fish deep water. That's different than San Francisco or south. It's different. Weather's different. Winds are different. Things are different. And they lump everybody together. And they should not.
Me again. It's not just the fish that we're not going to have in the freezer, the customers we're going to have. It's going to be the economic destruction to this community. I mean, for every $1,000 they pay me, they're here for a week. They're renting Airbnbs, they're going out to dinner, they're going to the cheese factory, they're going to local restaurants, they're spending money. So it's hurting the whole community, and Del Norte needs everything they can get. And tourism, fishing comes and goes, logging's making a comeback, tourism's always been there. We need to really go there. Okay, I'm done.
I have a question. Is there any federal involvement on this, or is it just the California Department of Fish and Wildlife?
I heard there was. The quailback is a federally protected fish, or managed.
Okay, so this closure, was that a directive from the feds to Fish and Game?
No.
This is Fish and Game knee-jerk reaction.
They exercised Title 14. The state did. Which basically.
But on what basis?
Over quota. We were allowed one fish per day.
Per person.
Per person, yeah, per person. All of a sudden, they didn't keep good enough track of their quotas, and their quotas was way exceeded what it was supposed to be. So they basically, as everybody's saying, it's a knee-jerk reaction. Uh-oh, we really screwed up. We're taking the whole fishery away.
Okay, those quotas that they said they took, proportionately, how much of that occurred in Del Norte County?
We have no idea.
We don't know the data.
Do they?
We don't know.
That might be a good question, because like Rob said, we are different, and I would request proportionately what went on here in Del Norte County, what concrete evidence, scientific data that they have for our county versus what's going on in the rest of the state.
Well, the rest of the state, they didn't close, just.
No, well, I meant from the part that is closed.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then who is this Carolyn McKnight again?
She is the lead that actually made the decision.
The lead rockfish person, basically.
She's the Marine Region person.
And she is located where?
Sacramento?
I mean, maybe that's the person you talked to.
It's an 831 area code, which is Santa Cruz County.
Okay.
Oh, that's right, that's what.
So this Carolyn is a biologist, fish biologist,
And I tried calling her today and had to leave a voicemail.
but is that right, that she is the fish biologist that made this call? And who is this Marcy gal?
I think she's her Caroline's boss, or
She's what?
I understood. She's the boss of Caroline.
Of Carolyn McKnight? So we're kind of talking to the same person, even though you're talking to two people. So, okay, so if this Marcy is the boss, who's her boss?
Probably boss.
What's that?
The governor.
I mean, are you saying that for a fact, or?
That's why we need to see the mayor.
I have the numbers here. You do? Right there.
Okay.
Let me read this for you here. This is what George Bradshaw put on the deal. It says, Quillback rockfish best estimate of take to date. The handout was prepared for August 1st, 2023, California Department of Fish and Game and Wildlife call with California Groundfish Advisory Subpanel representatives and other interested
Here,
parties
would you write those down for me?
to help form discussion of quillback rockfish take to date in California and the need to take in-season action to limit mortality. Very low harvest reference points exist for quillback rockfish table 1 in California for 23. Recreational catch data are comprised of monthly estimates from January through May. Anticipated catch values from June 1st through July 23rd, raw sample data. Commercial landings data are through July 24th. Now, the table for the harbor, or for the north area here, is north 40 degrees 10 north latitude. That's all the way down there. And that's all, they're counting everything from there to here. So, and they exceeded by on the north 10, and it was 127.6% of what their goal was, or the.
Maybe there's more quillback than they think. Is what it sounds like.
Yeah, there's a bunch they didn't count.
Yeah.
I'll send that, I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Where you can
Look at
have
it.
something to go by.
Okay.
I got a quick question for your fishermen. Is there like a fish counter every day at the dock?
Not every day.
That's what I want
So
to know.
that's where they're not getting the proper data. And then when I'm looking,
Some days they'll do commercial, other days they'll do the other side.
Sometimes they're gone for a week at a time.
Okay, but who is the person?
It's a college student.
There are 10, 12 different ones.
Yeah, they're college students that are finishing up their college career. Yeah.
So do they sign off anywhere? Do you have any names of these
No, they
people?
come up and it's strictly voluntary that you talk to them.
And they don't put nobody's name, they don't know your boat name.
Sounds like the elk counters.
They say, well, they'll ask you, okay, what's your zip code? And then how many fish? Where did you fish? Then you show them on the
Okay.
map.
Who at Humboldt runs them?
Huh?
Who at Humboldt runs them?
I don't know who runs them.
It's a fisheries biology.
It's a biologist for the fish.
Fishery biology department.
From Humboldt?
Yeah.
Humboldt State?
Well, probably from the, I don't know if it's from the Fish and Game
it's
in
probably through the department.
Eureka.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
It's based off monthly estimates.
Well, they get the elk hunters. Hmm? I know. Yeah. Their
I'll
idea,
send Helen what was published on the internet here with it.
okay, do they give you they don't give you any kind of paperwork that you keep?
No, they
No,
haven't.
okay.
No.
Was that posted today, Bo? That was posted today?
No, it's supposed to.
Yes.
And when I was just reading this, because she quoted the Title 14, it says, when federal harvest limits are projected to be exceeded. So they're only projecting. They actually don't have numbers on what. They're just guessing that they're going to be low.
Harvested 124% of their quota.
Right.
And remember, the quota is one fish out of 30 that you can take home and clean and eat. This is
Right.
one fish.
But that's why I asked about what the federal input was on this, because that's a whole different ballgame if it's the federal versus the Fish and Game, if they're taking directions from them. So who is the ultimate authority on it?
I guess it'd be NOAA, I guess. NIMS. On the federal side,
I called Noah. Yeah. I called Noah and I talked.
it would be NOAA.
No, Kelsey Kent. She's the head director for Rockfish with Noah. And I talked to her for a half hour about who made this call. They did not make the call. They backed the information that Fish and Game provided to them. They ensured that something had to be done. Fish and Game made this closure, not Noah.
Fish and Game.
Fish and Game made this closure.
California or Fed?
No, California.
California, the feds.
The feds had their
The feds
fingers.
had their finger in it. They had the data that we were 30% over pullback quota. Something had to be done. Fish and Game jumped on the ball to close it.
So who is the NOAA
Kelsey
biologist?
Kent is her name, and she's the head of.
What's the name?
Kelsey Kent is her name, and she is the senior biologist for rock fishing on the west coast.
And that's with NOAA?
That is with Noah. She is Noah.
What did she think about that closure?
She thinks it's devastating too.
Remember now, the bottom line is really simple. Strength in numbers. I mean, the only way that you have there's no reason in the world why they shut everything down, except that's just what they do. They have they have no idea what the problems with elk. That's our experience with those kinds of situations. They don't manage, they react. And they reacted incorrectly. They should have, plain and simple, if there was a problem with quillback, they should have shut down the quillback. It should be zero. Simple. Or if they got 130% harvest, they should shut down the quillback. Zero. They shouldn't shut it all down.
They
And
did it for 1 week and then they closed it again.
Yeah, but the bottom line is strength in numbers. Numbers, 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 numbers.
You know, you're getting pretty common sense, though. That was a common sense statement you made. I'm not sure that we deal with it. When we call Sacramento or call any of the Fish and Game offices and so on, we get an answering machine. We get no callbacks. I called 5 times today, and I have no callback yet.
If you call Eureka, somebody will answer. If you call McGuire's office in Eureka, somebody will answer. Or they will call you back, because I've had that experience. Same way with Wood's office in Eureka. They will call you back. And if you get someone in Eureka, they can refer you to somebody in Sacramento that you can get through to, from a Fish and Game standpoint. But probably the very best thing is the Fish and Game Commission meeting, since it's close and it's Tuesday. And if somebody's got a bus that holds 100 people, a couple of buses would really be good. But, I mean, it's strength in numbers.
Well, we can't be there, it's all in, we'll be there. If you don't watch it on Zoom, you can ask for a call-in number, it's too late for a letter. But you can be on Zoom watching it exactly with them, and you have a call-in number where you actually can call in and make a comment without being at the meeting. So if you can't be there, be online and show the support by giving your comments on the internet. It's really, it's Zoom works Zoom perfectly. Yeah, I mean, it's just anything to give your 3 minutes for them to have to stop doing what they're doing, to look at the numbers and look what they've done.
Any way you can post that info on Facebook so like hundreds of people can see it?
Yeah, we can post the link to it. It'll be out. Kenny Priest is really good about fishing the North Coast. He's really good about putting that information, the call time, the links to it, you just touch on it. And I'll make sure Kenny gets that thing up on Fishing the North Coast, because he's a big advocate. Tim Clausen's been doing a hell of a job too, with Real Steel out of Eureka, trying to fight for the halibut for an increase of 1% for us. And this hits him hard too, because everyone uses the rockfish. So there's strength here, and you just have to take the time to do the calls.
Is there a board meeting tomorrow? Board of Supervisors?
It's on the 8th.
What I was thinking,
Don't worry about Fish and Game Commission. Call in their state reps, because those people really react to numbers bad. Fish and Game doesn't,
They don't give a shit.
They're used to it.
But the State Fish and Game Commission, I think everybody, that includes motels, restaurants, whatever, should be contacted.
Many times, all day. They don't have time to answer questions. They only have
But I agree with you, this is an emergency. It's going to devastate this county.
I think contacting everyone across the board is important. That way they can never say that you've exhausted every possible thing that you can do.
So it might be a little late for the letter, but I think we will, I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but we'll try to draft a letter, right, Rob?
Yes.
We will draft a letter.
I'm not ignoring you, I'm texting you.
Okay.
So is there a meeting tomorrow? Did you know, Jackie?
Not a meeting until the 22nd for Board of Supervisors.
But just to, go over what you guys said, main thing you want in that letter is that there's going to be economic impact, that it should just be no quill back take.
Correct.
Correct?
Correct.
And that it should be open to all the other species of rockfish that are out there. Okay.
Until they have proper science to back up their claim.
No, we just want to go.
Well,
And that key was right there. All of the rockfish over, 12 out close. Right.
yeah, that's it.
They're a very hardy fish. A
Yeah.
ballfish should come up, that one, strong. He's going back down with no help.
Okay.
I heard that if you tell them that you release the fish, like one out of every 4 that you say you release, they count as
Mr. Chairman,
Oh, really?
Mr. Rob,
I'm texting
Okay, I want to ask you something.
Hold on.
Okay, I'm seriously going back to the emergency situation. Would it be possible to get the Board of Supervisors together? I mean, economically, this is a huge thing for our county. And do you think we could ask them to have some kind of an emergency meeting, considering that the Fish and Game Commission is probably the most important thing to have heard right now? Yeah, we'll get a hold of all the representatives, but I mean, we're kind of missing the golden opportunity. Maybe even having one of, or two of, that would be Joey Borges and Chris Howard, attend that meeting in Fortuna on behalf of the county.
It's gonna be a $2 million hit.
Excellent, yeah.
Do you realize that all of the ocean fishing in Crescent City has been shut down?
We don't know. It could be that Lane Cotton and
Yep.
Halibut.
We're here at the fishing game.
Pacific Halibut. California Halibut.
The fishing game has closed all of the rock fishing in the northern region. It's going to be economically a disaster in this community. Last Friday, they announced it, and it's closed this coming Sunday. Closed. It's bad.
Forever.
It's bad. And as you well know, there's usually not a whole lot of people here, but the room is full here tonight. And so I just texted Dean Wilson, and, there needs to be a Natural Resources Committee meeting, or there needs to be an emergency board meeting, or something. There's a Fish and Game Commission meeting in Fortuna next Tuesday and Wednesday, and we're recommending that all these folks, or as many as possible, either Zoom or physically attend that meeting, because they're lumping a whole bunch of the ocean together, and Crescent City shouldn't be in the list. Well, Quebec, which they authorized one fish per person take, has gone over the National Marine Fisheries recommended amount, and so the state Fish and Game decided to float.
And just
And
close the
there's a whole
northern
bunch of
region.
people on here, I can't talk to you anymore because all these people are staring at me. But, it's very critical.
I think I got one. Do you have this? I think so. Let me see.
These guys who got these charter boats are getting cancellations. There's cancellations in hotels, there's cancellations in RV park campgrounds, cancellations in restaurants, there's cancellations.
Charter boats.
It's bad. No, we're in the middle of it right now. Yeah, no, it's a big deal, and I don't know, you might contact in the morning, whatever. I sent a quick email to Dean. I don't know, is Chris back? Yeah, who knows? So, it's a dire situation for a lot of, all the charter boat captains. They're just gonna go broke. Simple. Just for info. Okay, see you later. Bye. Yeah.
Now remember, it's open 300 feet deep outside. That's 15 miles from the coast. It's open 300 feet deep. Closure is inside.
There's nothing to fish for. But you can't, maybe blacktop.
Three days last month. You could go there, right? Isn't that what I heard tonight?
Yeah. They're acting like they're giving us something. Unless it's fish out there.
Yeah, so I mean.
They're doing that,
Mr. Borges will investigate.
hey, they're doing that so they don't have to pay. They will not have to pay us if they leave something open. So they basically are dangling a carrot, so they.
But the ultimate question is, why did just the northern region get closed?
Exactly.
I mean, if the whole Quillback situation is in
All
dire
the way to the
straits,
southern border.
why just the northern region, which would only affect us?
Should be statewide.
Money calling, bull.
I'm just,
Closing LA.
this is a
and
good thing to
water
take to
top
the
of
State
LA
Fish and
is
Game Commission. There's an ultimate question right there. Why
So,
did they have it?
remember now, you bring up a good point. There's strength in numbers. There's numbers in LA. They don't figure that there's going to be a whole bunch of people that are going to argue and complain. Fish and Game Commission meeting. So tell every man, woman, and child that gets onto Zoom or whatever it's important, right? I mean, it's important. I'll continue to work and notifying board members and so forth. I mean, Joey knows. I sent the email to Dean. I don't know if Chris is around. I'll send the other information around that they know, and get a hold of Heidi, make sure she knows, because it's economically, as everybody says and everybody knows, it's a big, big deal here.
A lot of $1 million this county will miss out on.
I think we should contact all the supervisors. You know, even if they're not on like a fish and wildlife radar, but they would listen to an economic disaster in our county. So all of them.
I've been talking to North Coast Outpost already.
What's going on in
Where? There it is. Nothing. Because California, even though it was instigated by the feds, California took action, Oregon won't, so nothing's going on.
The feds didn't request it. They're already restricted on that.
Okay, can't catch them?
Can't catch it. So they're already restricted on it.
Yeah, we're happy with not catching them. We'd rather.
I don't want anyway.
I think we get the point. It's been driven home many times already this evening. I think it's really important. We have, Mr. Borges has arrived. There's strength in numbers. I said it about 10 times so far. Tuesday in Fortuna, there's a Fish and Game Commission meeting. As many people as possible that can physically be in Fortuna on Tuesday is better, probably. Zoom is good. And you know, calling these folks, calling the state representatives and so forth, it doesn't make any sense. If Quillback is the problem, Quillback is the problem. Blues aren't the problem, blacks aren't the problem, lingcod isn't the problem, it's Quillbacks. Shut down the Quillback, and then send enough people around to enforce it. That's the problem. We have the same problem that we deal with our friends from the waterfowlers. We have the same problem that we deal with elk and so forth. They have no enforcement. They have no management. Their idea for management, as Jeff knows, is to shut her down. It's really difficult, and you're paddling upstream. But it might work. Who knows?
I would just like to follow up on what Rob's saying. I think everyone here took the time to come in here tonight, and you obviously have the support of everybody here on this little advisory committee thing. We have Joey that's come into the room. However, it is the people and those of you that are affected by it and trying to get a lot more people. That's what he's trying to get through. It takes everybody to do this. And what happens is everyone thinks, well, so-and-so is going to do it, or I'll sign a petition, or something like this. And it is a golden opportunity for you folks to go down to Fortuna. Usually they meet about the elk in San Diego or something like that. And so if you don't take this opportunity, it could be devastating, is the way I see it. And you can't expect the board and everybody to support it unless you're willing to take a little more time and personally go there. I know it might be a babysitter, it might be time off from work, whatever, but if it's important enough, you'll go.
You guys talk to any charter guys?
And I'd just like to, let you guys all know that it's at the River Lodge Conference Center in Fortuna. So 1800 River Walk Drive. And it starts at 8:30 in the morning. On Tuesday.
It's going to be up at the casino, right?
No. It's yeah. And public, the general public comment period is right after the agenda is approved at 8:30.
And the same probably on
Yeah, Yeah. I'll look. Yes. Yeah. Public comment both Tuesday and Wednesday at the same time. Yeah. Yeah, it is 1800 River Walk Drive, Fortuna, California 95540.
Yes, sir. I'll throw one other thing out to reiterate what Helen and Rob said. We've been fighting with Fish and Wildlife for 2 years about hunting closures on Lake Earl. We've made that much progress. But what we have all learned is while they're fighting the elk issue, we're fighting the waterfowling issue, y'all are fighting the fishing issue, is they know who the hell Delaware County is in Sacramento. And they still blow us off, admittedly, but it's a lot harder, to Rob's point, when it's more than 5 people. They have a lot harder time blowing off. We took them 273 petitions against the closures on Lake Earl. They didn't care. 273 signatures in Delaware County is a lot. And the point in this to me is keep paddling if we're going upstream. Delaware, they need to know what goes on up here. I told the one guy at the meeting here, you don't know anything about the people in this county. And it's the sad truth. A year ago, Sherman, we went to the Fish and Game Commission meeting here in Fortuna a year ago. There were 5 people there, 2 of which were Sherman and I. The other 2 people there were fishermen. There was nobody from the public there. There were a few people on the phone, you know, and I've dialed into almost every Fish and Game Commission meeting since then. And it's important to just speak up, take 2 minutes, whatever they'll give you, say your piece, and it rings true with them. The only issue, in all honesty, with the Fish and Game Commission is because it's not on their agenda, there's nothing they can do at that meeting. And I'm not saying that to discourage you, I just wanted you to know that's how the system works, and we've been fighting it for 2 years, and we'll fight it for another 2 years, most likely. But it's because we enjoy where we live and we want to recreate here. It's that simple.
And it has to
Thank
get on
you for the extra time.
It has to get on the agenda, because it has to go to 3 meetings before they'll make a change on it. So that's the biggest thing. I flew to LA for the climate to speak for 3 minutes, because it had to be on that agenda so we could go back. It's one in Northern California, one in Southern California. Back to Northern California. If we don't get it on the agenda on this one, then we're gonna have to go to LA in order to get that thing started so that they can make a change. How do we do that? We just make sure that we make our statement that we want this thing looked at. And then once you make that statement that we need to have it checked with the data and the rest of the process, we made that on the agenda. Then it has to become part of their agenda, and then they're gonna have to look at it even more in Southern California. And then they'll come back to Northern California before they make a decision. So it's not an overnight process. That's the hardest thing about this thing, is once they make a decision, there are very, very, very few times they'll renege on what they've done.
But remember, it's the decision has been made by a person that works for Fish and Wildlife, not by the commission. And so the thing to remember is contact the person, which you have that information, that made the decision, ask her for the justification, and ask her why. See if you get an answer. Because Delaware County is different than Cape Mendocino. It's different. And that's what they don't understand.
So the number we should talk to, the gal we should be talking to is who?
It's Caroline McKnight.
Caroline McKnight.
Caroline McKnight.
And what is her number?
Sorry. 831.
277.
Thanks, Helen.
7683.
831-277-7683.
I'm going back to the county involvement, and I'm glad Joey came in here. The strongest and most influential thing that can happen would be to have our County Board of Supervisors get in on this ASAP. That's not saying everything that we've just said about individuals contacting them, but this is such a devastating thing economically that it is definitely an emergency status. I would like to know if the county was notified prior to this.
No, there was an email that was sent at 5 o'clock on Friday.
But sometimes they notify the county, and we're thinking that that didn't happen. And the big question would be whether they close this as an emergency thing or just as a regulatory thing. Okay? And so I think the same thing goes. The county, as in this morning, should have had the comments in. I mean, you know, if we had known about this, the sooner the better. The county carries a tremendous amount of weight.
Is the board meeting tomorrow?
Not till the 22nd.
Next week? Because the board passed an emergency letter for us a year and a half ago with our issue. And we took, basically, we took them what we thought they should say because they needed to get it done by like 3 days later because of the Fish and Game Commission meeting is what it was the same kind of a scenario, but throw that out there.
You going, Joey?
What's that?
Are you going?
To the meeting?
Yeah.
Is it tomorrow?
No, it's Tuesday. It's the same day board meeting.
Same day as board meeting.
Or Wednesday. Oh, you're right. Or Wednesday next week.
Do you have an email, direct email for this lady?
Sorry?
Do you have a direct email for this lady?
I'd like to think yeah, she has a direct email.
Stephanie, you said that she's the one who made this decision? Is that what I heard? She's the one who call and call.
Did you get the direct email?
And don't stop calling. Thousand people.
It says she's just a media contact. She actually made the decision.
No, she's the Marine Region Director.
She wasn't.
That's what, that is, the one that looks
I might make a suggestion, Joey. Maybe you could have legal counsel make the phone calls tomorrow to find out exactly how and how soon they can accept the County Board of Supervisors request, input, meeting, emergency status, whatever it is. And that way we won't be guessing when and how the county can get their input in. Like I said, it needs to be ASAP. And it might even be able to go in prior to this meeting next week. We have several days this week. And so if the county's just now getting wind of it, well then we need to have you guys get on it if you can.
I wish we could bring better news, but honesty, I mean, it's been mentioned several times, it's a uphill battle. But it's not a battle that shouldn't be fought. Because, you know, if they have a one fish quota per person and they overstep their allotment, it's their fault, not the fisherman's fault. They don't get penalized. Fisherman gets penalized. County gets penalized. Businesses get penalized. Everybody gets penalized except Fish and Wildlife because they didn't manage it properly. Should have been zero from the beginning if there was a problem or a potential problem. Should have been zero from the beginning.
Our hotel owners do not know this is happening.
Well, we need to get a paper out to every single one of them with all the numbers they need to contact.
Right.
These are other people, and they will get their friends to call, because it's gonna impact them negatively.
Yes. Don't stop calling.
Another question you guys might want to ask is it says here that it's only for recreational fishermen? Correct. What about the?
But they're limiting commercial boats that go after
We don't really want to try to hurt the commercial fishermen.
No, but my question is,
Right.
you're restricting one group of fishermen and not the other.
Well, they're
You're
sort of
restricting one
restricting.
region, but not the rest of the state.
Yeah.
Big difference.
So if you look at the,
Yeah.
if you look at their data, the reason why they haven't closed the southern area is because it hasn't, gone past their quota. Basically, there's probably excuse my French, a shitload less quillbacks down there than there are here. So, that's, I mean, we're gonna exceed it if our population is good and strong, you know? Even at one fish.
I think we've been over that one a number of times. I certainly appreciate everybody coming. I know the rest of the commission appreciates everybody coming, and we'll do our best to try to help facilitate with the board, with some phone calls ourselves and so forth, to see whether or not there's any ability to at least delay it or put a zero quillback. I mean, it makes the most sense to me. Why does everything get penalized because of quillback? So when they had a zero allotment per person on quillbacks between the 7th and now, how many quillbacks came to the dock?
None.
Why would they change it then, see? I mean, makes no sense to me, makes no sense to them. It's because they can.
Because the NOAA got a hold of them and said, you need to take care of this, and it's a knee-jerk reaction.
From the state, grant fishing game.
You know, I didn't think about the 300-foot thing. That's so they don't have legal liability. Right. Those son of bitches.
We meet once a month, basically, and anytime somebody has a fishing game problem, question, whatever, you're certainly more than welcome to come to our meetings.
It was nice to hear common sense here, instead of having a fishing game here.
Honestly,
In this day and age, there is no sense.
honestly, this decision that they made to force people to fish outside of 300 feet of water is potentially dangerous. Because you've got, you know, Joe Blow from Reading who comes over here in his 20-foot boat with, you know, 1988 outboard, and it's rough as shit out there, and his boat capsizes.
And we have no Coast Guard.
That's right.
That's one thing about the nucleus that we have here. If somebody's in trouble, we will go out and help.
We help you.
Okay, so I suppose what we need to do is move on to the rest of the agenda for the evening. We generally have an agenda that questions something happening on federal lands and state lands. Does anybody, any of the commissioners have something to add about federal and state lands? We had an elk meeting here a while back. I don't have anything to add at this point from an elk standpoint.
Rob, you don't have to go over the agenda because we don't have a quorum. It's up to you.
Thank you, everybody, for showing up.
Thank you all for coming. Yeah, I bet.
Can I make any as a comment on an agenda item before we go? Sure. As far as the listing of Chinook salmon. Please. That's another thing for this community. We rarely. Okay, so I do commercial fishing, I do charter fishing.
Are we talking Klamath or general, Chinook general?
General Chinook, Klamath, Sacramento, all up and down the whole coast.
did commercial salmon fishing for years. Now I do charter fishing. I mainly don't do the commercial fishing anymore because I cannot fish outside of my front door here. I mean, the way the regulations are, it is insane. And the abundance of salmon in the ocean, don't ask me why they're not coming back to the river. That's has a whole water situation. But I know from the last time that I went commercial salmon fishing several years ago that there are, I mean, from when I first started doing it until, a couple years ago when I stopped, I personally watched the number of fish grow and grow and grow and grow. So from a fisherman's standpoint, I'm watching the population grow because I could see the numbers in my catch. So it seems strange to list something as endangered when it seems to be growing. I don't know why they're not returning to the river. Poor quality of water, I guess,
Well, at this point, they haven't physically listed, they've just made the proposal. They've made the reduction or elimination of ocean and river fishing on the fall Chinook, but there's no proposal at the moment yet specifically for listing.
All right, my recommendation is against,
It's coming.
Is against that, because then we may never get it back, and that is a California staple,
Rob?
I guess we can adjourn the session.
My name's Steve. So I'm just wondering what you guys are looking at for the proposal for the salmon, because I lived on the Trinity for 16 years. I fished the Trinity, the Klamath, and I've watched the reduction become what it is to no fish. But to list that thing as endangered, it's gone. It's never going to come back. They're never going to get it back. And this removal of these dams, no one has a clue of what's behind that thing. I've seen the theories for the lower, colder water. But you know what these salmon are going to turn into? They're going to turn into Smith River salmon the same way. They're going to wait until the water gets cold, and then they're going to come up. If you look at the Rogue right now, the Rogue is 75 degrees in Agnes. All those fish are kegged in the bottom of that thing, waiting for the water to come. So, same thing is happening to here. We're starting to see a lot of salmon on the outside of Crescent City. We're also seeing the most bait we've ever seen this year, but we're not seeing krill. Krill is probably the number one thing that the salmon like. A lot of anchovies, a lot of herring, a lot of needlefish, but the krill is what makes those things survive more, better, stronger. But it's strange that we don't put those things under endangered, because none of our kids will ever see, grandkids, whatever, will ever see a salmon again. So, anyway, thank you. Thanks for listening to us.